Hi there. I haven't done my blog in a while, so this is 18. There's a lot have been things have been going on. Obviously, some not great. And last week the Eagles won a game. They had one in a couple of weeks, and the last few times that I was watching my game, my birds play with my buddies, and had a nice spread, we went home disappointed, annoyed at what we saw. And First, let's just get it out of the way. The election just came through last week and kind of put a damper on the atmosphere for like a week. And then the Eagles won, and it sort of lifted my spirits, especially because I was working. So it was a very busy day and it kind of flew by. But the election basically put everybody in a mood, and social media has become more abusive than normal, especially Twitter. But I'm at this point now where I've moved past it. I've accepted that Donald Trump will be the president in 2017 unless something can happen between now and the end of December, which would be a miracle. But if anything, the reflection, it just shows how a lot of people have kind of given up hope. And as much as people activate their militaristic human civil rights to protest and shout people down and put petitions out there online that you sign to get rid of the president-elect or the electoral college process. Everyone has a right to speak their mind in a tasteful way, and sometimes people abuse it, and they abuse the privilege that we all have as human beings with social media, and we don't use it for positivity. We use it for it becomes this garbage disposal of hate. And a lot of anonymous people who don't normally talk to people probably or would never say anything ugly have hidden behind their Facebook profiles, Instagram, whatever else is out there, Twitter. So now I'm at a point where I've just accepted the reality. And now I've also just accepted that this year, as the last months and a half of the regular season come upon us as fans, I've decided to just enjoy every game. Not have a high expectations. I really didn't this season. I just was excited about Carson Wentz. Once he started, it seemed like the rest of the season just, those first three games obviously took everybody by surprise. But the reality is Carson is just a beacon of light for what is to come in 2017. And I'm more looking forward to 2017 now because I feel like there are probably going to be some people that we can't get rid of due to salaries and all that, the way Howie was wheeling and dealing in the off season. The bonus in 2017 is that we have the draft in Philly. The not so great news is that we probably have the lowest pick in the first round now, but it might be a good thing because I'm learning now that the first round, if you don't get exactly what you're aiming for, you might as well just hold on to the other rounds, because sometimes the good players end up being diamonds in the rough, and sometimes they're not always that number one pick and all that stuff. Sometimes those end up being a bust. Like Nelson Aguilar has turned out to be a bust, a very I don't know if he's a nervous player, or if he just doesn't concentrate, or if he's in denial. I'm sure as a person, he's a nice man because I know I've met him before he started playing, and he was very, very sweet. Now, mind you, he could be a little defensive now. He's been through a lot, He's been through some accusations off season that were pretty crazy. And now at this point, I think it's affecting his game on all levels. And then you have my Zach Ertz, who I love and adore, but I'm feeling like the shadows of LJ Smith are coming back to haunt me in terms of consistent tight ends, and the only one being consistent is Brent Selleck, who is a 10-year vet, and I feel like he's the most reliable person, but he's helping the O-line block. So we need Ertz to consistently catch and consistently run. He's getting better every game. I'm sure injuries to the head, concussions and all that can throw off your whole game, but Zach needs to play smarter. He is a Stanford guy, so, it's starting to translate on the field like he's a little hesitant. And I'm sure, it's easy for us fans to say who don't go out there and play, that you need to catch the ball and concentrate and not get scared off by someone coming at you. But, Zach might have a whole future ahead of him, and he may not feel like the Eagles is his only stop. So he's probably trying to keep himself fresh. But at the time of battle, it really shouldn't matter. You shouldn't be thinking that far ahead. You should just be present at that moment. So we need to practice mindfulness as fans, as well as patience, because the rest of the season is just basically a litmus test, because next year we might have some familiar faces and then some totally new ones. But we need to stay consistent from 2017 on, because we have to build a team that stays and is consistent and gels together And if Doug is still the coach between next year and the next year after that, he'll have to learn to trust his players, and he'll have to learn to know when to kind of just fly off the cuff with the playing calls and not put his players into dangerous positions. So, and offer my suggestion is in 2017 that the referees be trained extra hard for next season, because some of these no calls for all teams around the NFL have been ridiculous. So I suggest that the referees have those specials that they air, behind the scenes. I forget what those are called. Those documentaries. We need to have a documentary about how the referees are actually trained, and do they actually learn anything, or are they just told something and paid for every game to not judge an obvious blow to the head and then not seem to call anything against Brady. So anyway, or excuse me, they seem to call everything for Brady, but not for Cam Newton. But yeah, this blog, basically, I just felt like I should just accept what's coming. At this point, the Eagles are 5-4. Still not a bad, it's not a bad record. It's just that we should be better. I mean, I felt like every team was winnable. Every game, was winnable. And now that Green Bay is starting to look like they're imploding, I wouldn't hang my hat on Monday night being an easy win for the Birds, but the old Aaron Rodgers could decide to come back and whip their butts. But you never know. They play the Seahawks this Sunday at 4:25. I'm excited, but I'm not going to be shocked what the outcome is, because at this point we've seen them flail against all the quote-unquote easy division teams. So something tells me they'll win these next two, and we won't understand as fans how. But it's possible that Doug could have just overthought too much for the Giants and the Redskin games, and maybe that's why they just didn't look prepared. So at this point, as a fan, I'm going to be rooting for good games always. I mean, I think it's easier to watch them. It has been extremely frustrating these last 2 weeks as a fan, because I don't know why we act like we only have 2 receivers on the team when you got Paul Turner on the practice squad who catches everything. Who cares about running routes as long as he catches the ball? And then you have Treggs, who we got from the 49ers, who's supposed to be really fast, and we're not using him as much. So obviously this game is going to be about running the ball. Pray that Ryan Matthews and Sproles don't have any kind of fumble, and that they use their speed and their skill to get through the gaps to win this game. So I'm predicting the Eagles will win, I think, the same score like the Giants. I think it'll be a 28-23 win, or 28-27, something like that. It'll be close, because I don't think they've scored over 25 or 26 points this year. So I don't see it like being a 30 or anything like that, unless it's the Seahawks that are hanging 30. But we could easily look at this game and just see a wipeout. We could easily look at this game and see the Eagles being non-competitive. But, it's another Dirty Bird game. They just beat the Falcons, so they can beat the Seahawks. They can beat anyone, really, but they always end up beating themselves. So as a fan, I say go Eagles. I'm always with you, regardless, even if I'm giving constructive criticism. And as I wait to cook the rest of my dinner, I just say to all fans out there who are watching and making their own videos, don't be so quick to give up on the team. This was always supposed to be that year that we're building around Carson. So now it has begun. It began faster than I thought it was going to begin. But, at this point, Sammy Bradford ain't doing any better than us at this point. So let's just enjoy every week for the rest of the season. Like the Andy Reid drop always says, enjoy the win. And EAGLES, Eagles!